There are moments in life when you are convinced it's over. You've done everything you knew how to do. You prayed, you waited, you tried again and again, and still it feels like the door has slammed shut. You look at the broken pieces of your past and you tell yourself, if I missed it then, I've missed it forever. But I came to tell somebody in this room tonight, what you thought was the end was only an interruption. What you called failure was not final. What looked like a closed chapter was simply God pausing the story so he could turn the page with power. Some of you are carrying guilt from yesterday, regret from last year, and disappointment from seasons you cannot get back. You keep replaying the moment you should have spoken up, the decision you should not have made, the opportunity you think you ruined. But hear me clearly today, heaven is not limited by your mistakes. Blessings are not canceled because you stumbled. Purpose does not expire because you got tired. There is a grace that specializes in coming after you when you think you are disqualified. I need you to understand this right now. A delay is not a denial. A setback is not a sentence. Just because it didn't happen the first time does not mean it will never happen. Sometimes life has to break you down so you are ready to handle what is coming next. Sometimes you have to lose your footing so you learn how to stand with faith instead of fear. What you thought you lost forever may be preparing to return with greater weight, greater wisdom, and greater blessing. This is not a speech for people who have everything together. This is for the ones who are still healing, still hoping, still believing for another chance. This is for the person who thought God had moved on without them. Today, I want to remind you that if you are still breathing, the story is still being written. And if the story is still being written, then a second chance is still possible. Look at your neighbor and tell them, this is not the end. Tell them I'm still here. Tell them there is still a blessing with my name on it. Because what's coming next is not just restoration, it's redemption. And this time, it's not just a blessing, it's a second chance at a blessing. There is a lie that quietly settles into the heart after failure, and that lie says because you made a mistake, you no longer deserve what was promised. It tells you that one wrong decision disqualified you, that 1 weak moment erased years of purpose, that one bad chapter ruined the entire book. But that lie has no authority over your life. Mistakes do not cancel destiny. They may interrupt the journey, but they do not erase the destination. Every person in this room has a past they would rather edit, a conversation you wish you handled differently, a door you walked through that you should have closed, a door you were afraid to open when you had the chance. And when you replay those moments, you begin to punish yourself in ways life never asked you to. You stop dreaming as big. You stop expecting good things. You stop believing that something great can still happen through you. Not because God said no, but because shame convinced you to sit down. But destiny is not as fragile as you think. It is not so weak that one failure can destroy it. If that were true, no one would ever reach their purpose. Destiny is stronger than your worst decision. Purpose is bigger than your lowest moment. There is a reason you are still here, still breathing, still waking up with something stirring inside you. That stirring is proof that what was spoken over your life has not been revoked. Sometimes your mistake does not remove the promise. It reveals what needs to mature in you before the promise arrives. You wanted the blessing, but you were not yet ready for the responsibility that comes with it. You wanted the platform, but your character still needed shaping. You wanted the reward, but your endurance needed strengthening. So life allowed you to stumble, not to destroy you, but to develop you. The fall was not a cancellation, it was a lesson. There are people who walked away because of your mistake. There are opportunities that close because of your choice. And yes, some consequences are real, but consequences do not mean condemnation. Correction does not mean rejection. God can work through what you did wrong just as powerfully as through what you did right. In fact, sometimes He does His deepest work in the places where you are most ashamed, because humility grows there, compassion grows there, wisdom grows there. You think your mistake made you less valuable, but it actually made you more aware. You listen differently now. You move more carefully now. You pray with more sincerity now. You love with more depth now. The person you are becoming has more substance than the person you used to be. And that version of you is better equipped to carry what is coming next. Do not let one chapter define the whole story. You are not the moment you failed. You are not the decision you regret. You are not the season you barely survived. You are what happens next when grace steps in and gives you another opportunity to rise. Destiny does not depend on perfection. It depends on persistence. It depends on your willingness to get back up, to keep believing, to keep moving forward, even when your confidence is shaken. Some of the greatest breakthroughs come after the greatest breakdowns. Some of the strongest faith is born out of disappointment. And some of the most powerful blessings are released only after you learn that you cannot do this on your own. Your mistake did not end the story. It simply changed the route. So lift your head. Release the shame. Stop disqualifying yourself. What is meant for you is still meant for you. What was spoken over you still has power. And even if you took a wrong turn, destiny knows how to reroute. Mistakes do not cancel destiny. They only remind you that you need grace to reach it. There is a painful place between promise and fulfillment where many people give up. It is the space where you did everything you were told to do. You showed up. You stayed faithful. You waited, and still nothing happened. Time keeps moving, but your situation feels frozen. And in that silence, the enemy whispers the same lie over and over again. If it hasn't happened by now, it's never going to happen. But hear me clearly today, delay is not denial. We live in a world that teaches us to measure worth by speed, faster success, quicker results, instant answers. So when something takes longer than expected, we assume something is wrong. We assume we missed our moment. We assume God changed His mind. But timing is not about punishment. It is about preparation. What you are waiting on has a weight that requires strength, and that strength is built in the waiting. Some delays are not because you are doing something wrong, but because something is being aligned. People are being positioned. Doors are being prepared. Lessons are being learned in you that could not be learned any other way. You want the blessing now, but if it came now, it would crush you. So grace steps in and says, not yet, not because you don't deserve it, but because you need more time to grow into it. The hardest delays are the ones that follow obedience. You did what was right and still ended up waiting. You stayed honest and watched others pass you by. You remained faithful and still felt forgotten. And that is when faith is truly tested, not when everything is moving, but when nothing seems to be happening. In those seasons, waiting feels like rejection, but it is actually protection. What feels like God withholding is often God shielding you from something you cannot yet handle. Delay also exposes what you really believe. When the excitement fades and the crowd disappears, will you still trust? When prayers seem unanswered and progress feels invisible, will you still stand? Waiting strips away shallow faith and replaces it with a deeper trust. It teaches you how to lean instead of rush, how to listen instead of demand, how to surrender instead of control. Some of you are frustrated because you keep comparing your timeline to someone else's. You see them celebrating what you have been praying for, and it makes you question your own worth. But their timing has nothing to do with yours. What they are ready for may not be what you are ready for, and what is delayed for you may be doubled when it arrives. Comparison will convince you that delay means denial, but destiny does not run on someone else's clock. There are blessings that only arrive after endurance is proven. There are doors that only open for people who did not quit while waiting. The delay is not wasted time. It is building patience, resilience, humility, and strength. It is teaching you how to appreciate what you will one day hold. When the blessing finally comes, you will know how to protect it, steward it, and honor it. Do not let delay talk you out of hope. Do not allow silence to rewrite the promise. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Roots grow in the dark. Foundations are laid underground. And when the time is right, what was hidden will rise with power. If it has not happened yet, that does not mean it will not happen. It means the story is still unfolding. Stay faithful in the waiting. Stay hopeful in the silence. Delay is not denial. It is preparation for a blessing that is worth the wait. There comes a moment in life when you realize that what you need most is not another opportunity, but permission to begin again. You have survived the fall, but you are still standing in the shadow of it. You want to move forward, but something inside you keeps saying you don't deserve a fresh start. That voice sounds convincing because it uses your past as evidence, but grace steps in and says your past may explain you, but it does not have the authority to define your future. Grace is not just forgiveness for what went wrong. It is power for what comes next. It does not excuse the mistake, but it refuses to let the mistake have the final word. Grace looks at your failure and says you are still usable. It looks at your weakness and says you are still chosen. It looks at your brokenness and says you are still loved. And when grace speaks, shame loses its grip. Many people never truly begin again because they keep asking for permission from the wrong places. They wait for people who were hurt by their past to approve their future. They wait for circumstances to forget what happened. They wait for time to erase the memory of failure. But grace does not wait for applause. Grace does not need a committee meeting. Grace gives you permission to rise, even when not everyone understands your process. Starting again requires courage because it forces you to face the fear of failing again. You tell yourself, what if I try and fall the same way? What if I open my heart and it breaks again? What if I believe and get disappointed again? Grace does not promise that you will never fall again. It promises that if you do, you will not fall alone. There is strength beneath you now that was not there before. Grace also demands humility. You cannot begin again pretending nothing happened. You carry the lesson, the wisdom, the scars. But those scars are not proof of defeat. They are proof of survival. They remind you where you have been and guide you in where you are going. Starting again with grace means you move forward wiser, not weaker. Some of the strongest people you admire are not strong because they never failed. They are strong because they learned how to start again without losing themselves. They learned how to rebuild without bitterness. They learned how to trust again without being naive. Grace taught them that falling does not make you faithless, quitting does. There is a beauty in beginning again that only grace can create. It removes the pressure to be perfect. It replaces fear with faith. It teaches you that your value is not tied to your performance, but to your purpose. When you begin again through grace, you stop trying to prove yourself and start allowing yourself to grow. You may feel late, you may feel behind, you may feel like everyone else is ahead of you, but grace does not operate on your timeline. It meets you where you are and moves at the pace of healing. It does not rush you, and it does not abandon you. It walks with you step by step until confidence returns. If you are still here, still hoping, still willing to try again, that is grace at work. It is the quiet strength that lifts your head after failure. It is the gentle voice that says, "Get up, there is more ahead." You are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience. So take the step. Open your heart. Try again. Dream again. Believe again. Grace has already given you permission. And when you begin again through grace, you are not going back to who you were. You are moving forward into who you are becoming. There are seasons in life that feel unnecessarily painful, confusing, and unfair. Seasons where everything that once felt stable begins to crack. Relationships strain, plans fall apart, confidence weakens, and prayers feel unanswered. In those moments, it is easy to believe that something has gone wrong, that you are being punished, or that you have somehow missed your chance. But broken seasons are not evidence of abandonment. They are often preparation for greater blessings. No one chooses brokenness. No one asks to be disappointed, betrayed, or humbled. Yet some of the deepest growth happens in the very seasons we try hardest to escape. Broken seasons strip away what is temporary and reveal what is essential. They remove false strength and replace it with real dependence. They teach you what truly matters and who you truly are when everything else is taken away. When life is comfortable, we rarely examine ourselves. We move on autopilot, relying on routine and familiarity. But when something breaks, it demands attention. It forces reflection. It slows you down long enough to see patterns that need to change and habits that need to be healed. What feels like loss is often an invitation to transformation. Broken seasons also have a way of exposing the cracks in our foundation. If your confidence was built on approval, it will collapse when criticism comes. If your peace was built on stability, it will shatter when uncertainty arrives. But when those false foundations fall, you are given the chance to rebuild on something stronger. And what is rebuilt on truth will last longer than what was built on comfort. Many people try to rush through broken seasons, but healing cannot be hurried. Growth takes time. Strength is developed slowly. Wisdom is formed through experience. If you skip the process, you weaken the outcome. Broken seasons teach you patience, resilience, and humility, qualities that are required to carry greater blessings without being destroyed by them. You may not see it now, but the breaking is making room. It is clearing space for something new. You could not carry what is coming with what you were holding on to. The weight of the next blessing would have overwhelmed the old version of you, so life had to reduce you before it could elevate you. Not to humiliate you, but to prepare you. There are lessons that can only be learned in broken places. Compassion is born there. Empathy grows there. Strength is refined there. People who have never been broken often lack depth, but those who have walked through pain carry wisdom that cannot be taught. Your broken season is giving you substance, not scars without purpose. Sometimes the blessing is not just what you receive, but who you become, the patience you develop, the faith you deepen, the courage you discover. When the blessing finally arrives, it will not just change your situation, it will meet a version of you that is ready to steward it well. Do not despise the season you are in. Do not rush the healing. Do not measure your future by your present pain. What feels like breaking is actually shaping. What feels like losing is actually refining. And what feels like an ending is often the beginning of something far greater than you imagined. One day you will look back and realize the broken season was not wasted. It was necessary. It prepared your heart, your mind, and your spirit for what came next. And when the greater blessing arrives, you will be able to stand in it with gratitude instead of fear, strength instead of insecurity, and wisdom instead of pride. There is a powerful truth that many people forget when life becomes heavy and progress feels slow. Your story is still being written, no matter how final a moment may feel. It is never the last sentence as long as you are still breathing. Pain tries to convince you that the chapter you are in is the conclusion, but it is only a page, and pages can turn. When something ends unexpectedly, we rush to label it as failure. A relationship ends, a dream collapses, an opportunity slips away, and we assume the story is over. But endings are often edits, not erasures. They remove what no longer fits so something better can be written in its place. Just because the plot took a turn you did not expect does not mean the author has lost control. Life is not written in straight lines. There are pauses, rewrites, and unexpected twists. Some chapters are joyful and others are painful, but each one contributes to the whole. The problem is not that the story has trouble. The problem is when you stop believing there is more to come. The moment you lose hope, you stop reading your own life with expectation. Many people get stuck rereading the worst chapter of their life. They rehearse what went wrong, what they lost, and what they regret. But you were never meant to live in one chapter forever. That chapter taught you something, shaped you, and strengthened you, but it is not the full story. Growth requires turning the page even when the last chapter hurt. The fact that you are still here means there is still purpose ahead of you. You are not delayed by accident. You are not surviving by coincidence. There is intention in your endurance. Every breath you take is evidence that something unfinished remains. Life does not preserve what it no longer needs. Your story being written means change is possible. It means healing can still happen. It means dreams can be reborn. What you could not do before, you may be ready for now. What you were not strong enough to carry then, you may be equipped to handle today. Time has not weakened you, it has prepared you. Even your failures are part of the story, not footnotes to be erased. They add depth, honesty, and humanity to your journey. Without them, the victory would be shallow. Without the struggle, the breakthrough would lack meaning. The pages stained with tears often become the most powerful chapters. Do not underestimate the power of what is coming next. Some of the greatest moments in life arrive after long periods of uncertainty. Some of the most beautiful transformations happen quietly over time when no one is watching. While you think nothing is happening, something is being written beneath the surface. You may not see the full picture yet, but you are not meant to. Faith is trusting the process even when the plot is unclear. It is believing that the chapter you are in will make sense when you read it later. The confusion you feel now may one day become the testimony that helps someone else survive their own chapter. So keep showing up, keep believing, keep taking the next step, even when you do not know where it leads. The pen has not been put down. The ink has not dried. There are still pages left to fill. Your story is still being written, and the best part has not been told yet. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to understand something deeply and personally. What you have been through did not disqualify you. What you lost did not define you. And what delayed you did not deny you. Every mistake, every waiting season, every broken moment has been working together to bring you to this point right here, right now. You are not standing at the end of your story. You are standing at a turning point. The pain you survived gave you strength. The waiting taught you patience. The broken season shaped your character, and the grace that met you in your lowest moment is the same grace that will carry you forward. Nothing was wasted. If you ever felt like you missed your moment, hear this clearly: destiny knows how to find you again. If you ever believed it was too late, remember that time does not limit purpose. If you ever thought you were done, understand that breath in your body is proof that God is not finished. This is your reminder to release the shame, let go of regret, and stop replaying yesterday's failures. You cannot move forward while living in the past. Today is not about who you were, it is about who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before. You still have permission to dream. You still have the right to believe. You still have the courage to try again. What is ahead of you carries more meaning because of what you endured to get here. This is not just restoration. This is redemption. So rise with confidence. Walk with faith. Stand with hope. Your story is still being written, and what comes next is not just a blessing. It is a second chance at a blessing.